Martha had always been a woman of deep and unwavering faith. Every Sunday morning without fail she put on her best coat, carried her worn leather Bible, and walked the familiar path to church. Her faith had carried her through life's greatest joys and deepest sorrows. It shaped how she raised her children, how she treated her neighbors, and how she viewed the world. So when she discovered that her eldest granddaughter, Lisa, had suddenly started going to church, not just on Sundays, but every single day, Martha felt a surge of pride unlike anything she had felt in years. Lisa had never shown the slightest interest in religion. In fact, she had often rolled her eyes at it, sometimes even making jokes that stung Martha's heart. That was why this sudden devotion felt almost miraculous. At first, Martha chose to stay quiet. She didn't want to overwhelm Lisa with questions or risk pushing her away. If this was a genuine spiritual awakening, she wanted it to grow naturally. But as days turned into weeks, something about the situation began to trouble her. Lisa's church attendance increased, but her behavior at home worsened. She snapped at her siblings. She argued constantly with her parents. She slammed doors when asked simple questions. When anyone asked where she was going, she would glare and storm out without answering. It didn't make sense. If Lisa was truly embracing faith, shouldn't it reflect in her actions? Martha tried to brush off her concerns. Perhaps Lisa was going through something personal. Perhaps she needed time. But the unease in her chest refused to settle. Finally, she decided to speak with her son Rico, Lisa's father. The moment she mentioned Lisa's name, Rico's expression darkened. "Something's not right," he admitted. "We don't know what she's doing. She's secretive, defensive. It's like she's hiding something." That confirmation made Martha's heart sink. There was only one other person who might have answers: the church's priest, Nicholas. Martha had known Priest Nicholas for over 20 years. Since moving to the city, she had attended his services faithfully. He was respected, charismatic, and unusually successful at drawing young people into the church. While many congregations struggled to attract younger members, Nicholas seemed to have a growing following of university-aged adults. Martha called him and politely asked if they could meet. Nicholas sounded calm, even amused. He told her that Lisa had become interested in the church after he visited a nearby university campus. According to him, she had been inspired by one of his talks. But there was one problem. The university he named was not the one Lisa attended. In fact, Lisa had never set foot there. A cold realization crept into Martha's mind. Either the priest had made a serious mistake, or he was lying. That night, Martha made a decision she never imagined she would make in her lifetime. She would investigate. She knew the church routines well. Confession hours were short, only from 8 to 9 in the morning. Priest Nicholas disliked long sessions and rarely stayed afterward. If she positioned herself carefully, she could remain inside the church unnoticed. The next morning, Martha arrived early and made sure she was the last to enter the confessional. Once the priest left the booth, she quietly remained hidden. Her heart pounded as she waited. Soon, a young woman about Lisa's age entered the church. Nicholas greeted her warmly and led her into his private office. 5 minutes later, she left. Then another young adult arrived. And another. Each meeting lasted no more than 5 minutes. Quick, efficient, secretive. Martha's unease deepened with every passing minute. Then she saw Lisa. Her granddaughter walked through the church doors and was greeted the same way as the others. They entered the office, and this time, the door didn't fully close. Martha moved closer, her breath shallow. What she saw made her knees weaken. Inside the office, Nicholas was not offering spiritual guidance. He was handing over small packets and collecting envelopes of cash. Lisa accepted something from him and tucked it quickly into her bag. Martha felt as if the ground had vanished beneath her feet. With trembling hands, she pulled out her phone and recorded what she could see. She knew no one would believe her otherwise. A respected priest. A Drugoperation. It sounded impossible. But it was real. As soon as Lisa left, Martha slipped out of the church and called the police. At first, the officers were skeptical. Accusing a priest of criminal activity was no small claim. But when Martha showed them the video, their expressions changed immediately. Within minutes, police cars surrounded the church. They entered Nicholas's office and caught him in the act with another young man. A search of the premises revealed drugs, cash, and detailed records. For years, he had used his position of trust to recruit local youth into distributing illegal substances across the city. The church had been his cover. The betrayal cut deeper than Martha could describe, not just for herself, but for the entire community. Among those recruited was Lisa. Thankfully, the young people involved were treated as manipulated accomplices rather than hardened criminals. They were given heavy fines, mandatory community service, and rehabilitation support instead of prison sentences. For Lisa, it was a turning point. The shock of nearly ruining her future shook her deeply. Over time, she admitted she had been drawn in by easy money and the authority Nicholas seemed to carry. She had never expected it to spiral so far. The road back to trust was not easy. But slowly, Lisa changed. She returned to school with renewed focus. She repaired her relationship with her parents, and eventually, one quiet afternoon, she sat beside Martha at the kitchen table and whispered, "Thank you." Tears filled Martha's eyes. Faith had always guided her life, but this time, it wasn't blind trust that saved her granddaughter. It was courage. And sometimes, Martha realized, true faith means being brave enough to confront the truth, even when it hides in the last place you expect.